Hi, welcome back to another episode of Coldstream Rod Shop. I'm Derek Fraser. In this week's video, we're going to try and do some work on Ellie's coop. As I said in the last video, it's no longer Brian's coop, it's Ellie's coop, his granddaughter's coop. What we've done, we are waiting for the firewall seal to come in. Once that's in, we'll position the firewall and start aligning the body. The first step that I've done, at least in the past, of doing the roadsters and the coops is you get the firewall on, hook the cowl up to the firewall, then you start positioning your A-pillars, both this way and then this way, and lining of the doors. So anyways, can't start doing that till I get the seal. But one thing I did, I went over the firewall with Brian. He wants to leave a lot of the original holes, but this kind of looks like somebody had a bad shave, but essentially where you see the little blue tape are either small cracks or bullet holes or things that I'm going to fill. The rest of the holes he's going to leave alone. I do have to make a repair to the bottom of that foot because it's missing one of the bolt holes. So we'll do what we can on it for this week. Also over on Brenda's Roadster, there are still a few small little things we're going to cover. And then one thing, it's planned at the end of the week. We'll see. But I think that the 58 Ford cab will be going back to the owner in Kingston. If it does, then what we'll do is I will then start getting the camera lady's chassis up on the rotisserie to get it ready to be painted. And the plan this week is to go out and pick a color. We've tossed around a bunch of colors. Once we'll decide, we'll let you know what it is, but it's between a couple colors right now. So still lots to do this week, so follow along for another week of Coldstream Rod Shop. Well, today I'm still back in the finishing garage working on Brenda's Roadster, working on a few finishing touch-ups from the last episode. I've still got a list there of things we've got to do, some small stuff. One of the things I did from last episode, we did wire the front headlights, but I didn't run any kind of protective conduit onto it. So I've done that now. I've got like the plastic corrugated type conduit running along here, down along the edge, and I basically just use zip ties to hold it in place. We've got the ground wire running to the electric fan. The electric fan is hooked up now. And then there's another piece of conduit here that goes underneath the radiator, and it's zip tied to the U-bolts in the front. Everything is all nice and tight, much the same as what I did in my other cars. My Model A has been wired like this for 10 years and really not much of an issue. If you look at modern cars too, it's pretty much the same thing. You can get fancy and get some of the cloth wiring. We are going to upgrade on our Roadster because we've got some old school wiring on that. We'll probably do a little bit different, just more for looks than anything else. The other thing we've got going on today, I built the little bracket for the overflow. All it is a piece of aluminum, 1 inch flat aluminum bar. I think it's about 1/8 thick. Just bend it up. So they'll put a little kink across the top here, come straight down, little kink across the bottom, and it basically mounts through the same bolts that you put the radiator cell on. And then just 2 bolts here to hold it in place, and that tucks it kind of neatly inside there. Still have to hook the hoses up to it, but we've done the same thing on the Model A and over on the 32 pickup. Again, here, same idea, just I'll show you. So there's the setup on the Model A for the overflow. And then over here on our 32 pickup, we did the exact same thing. Just a piece of flat aluminum bar bent alongside of the radiator brackets. So anyways, we're just gonna keep picking away here. Hopefully we'll get on to working on Brian's coop. Maybe start welding up some of the holes in the firewall, and then hopefully the firewall seal will show up here shortly, and then we can start messing around with getting all the alignment done on that. So this is the 272 Y block we plan on using on the Camera Ladies Roadster. It's a refreshed or rebuilt 1956 272, 2-barrel carburetor, stock engine, really nothing Nothing crazy about it. Our plan is to put a 4-barrel intake on this, chrome valve covers, and just dress it up a little bit. I went out and we've got a Petronics ignition that we're going to install onto it to convert it from points to electronic with a flamethrower 2 coil on it. And then also what we wanted to do, or we need to do actually, is to put the truck oil pan onto it, which is a rear sump. So we sent this oil pan out to get cleaned. There was a lot of crud onto it. I think it was like 3 or 4 episodes ago. It's come back now, and we've got a couple little issues here. So don't know if you can see it. There's a little bit of pitting there. And there, if you put a flashlight on it, you can see through. So what I'm going to have to do is dig that out and weld it up. I was concerned with some of these flat oil pans that there wasn't a baffle into it, but this one actually has it. It came out of a 1964 F100 292. So if there were issues with it, Ford obviously solved the problem by putting a baffle into it. We're also going to use the valley pan off of the, well, that's the motor there. That's the 292 out of the truck. That's a perfectly good rebuildable block. It's just not rebuilt. So we're going to use the valley pan from it, and we're going to put a PCV system onto it. So what there is this is the breather tube on the top, for those of you that don't know. And then normally there will be a road draft tube that go down to the back of the engine, and basically the air would passively go through the engine. So what we're going to do, I'm going to make a bracket here and then use this little rubber gasket to go in there, and we're going to install a piece of E-valve into it. Now on the bottom side, there, it already has a baffle, kind of like a current, everyday valve cover would have into it. So, and then there's also another baffle here. So basically it would keep from sucking oil up through the system. So with this later model valley pan cover, this should do the trick. So we're going to, like I said, make that modification, get a coat of paint onto it. Same way with the oil pan here. Once we fix up with the paper there, we'll fix that porosity up and the holes into it, get it cleaned up and get a coat of paint onto it, and then swap it out over on that 292 engine. I don't know if any of you guys out there have had the issue with flashing lights with LEDs and working with the flashers, but I finally got our solution fixed here. This is a little loud right now because the fan is on. My lights are now working the way that they should. One of the issues we had before was, I might have mentioned it in the previous video, was that the flashers weren't working because we had LED lights front and rear. Now, one of the things I did, I installed like a load resistor on the rear lights. I don't know if you can see it here or not, but yeah, there they are right there. That does help some. But the flashing unit that's supplied with the wiring kit, which is this little thing here, right there, it doesn't work. You can also buy this one that says flashers for LED. It works in a sense that it'll put enough power to the light to turn it on, but not make it flash. The one you really want is this one. It's called an electronic flasher for LED lights. We used to buy these a long time ago at the Canadian Tire or the auto parts store. It was the more expensive heavy duty flasher. Lasted a lot longer, but this is what's in it now. So if you're having trouble with your lights not flashing, that won't work. This won't work. And you need to buy this one, which is the electronic LED flasher. So that's another problem solved. We went through the same thing when we built the 32 pickup over there, the exact same thing. Now with the Model A, I have LEDs on the back, but I've got incandescent lights in the front. So there's enough load on the system so that the flasher that came with it will work. Another trick somebody told me to use, and I really didn't want to do it, was to take an incandescent light, put it basically in the wiring of the car, basically put it in the trunk, in line with the LED lights, wrap some tape around it, and that would actually create enough load on the system to make the flashers work. I didn't want to really go through that and have an extra light bulb in the trunk with tape around it, and someday something doesn't work and you don't know what it is. So anyways, these are available. They're not available on Amazon anyways. I don't know where else you can get them. I would imagine you can still get them at the auto parts store and stuff like that, but didn't cost much. I think it was 12 or 15 bucks or something for 2 of them delivered to my door by Amazon. So one more problem solved. One of the goals this week was to move the rotisseries there over to the other garage and start putting the Camera Ladies chassis up on the rotisserie to essentially get it ready to paint. We are not going to paint it right away, but I kind of wanted to get things set up and get the new curtains made so that we can spray it with some sort of a little bit of room. The curtains, the plastic curtains we've rolled down in the past, are more suitable to just doing a body, like we did the pickup bed and the pickup cab, which are smaller than the full frame. I did do the full frame over in the other building at one time with the full garage without curtains, and basically got blue paint on everything in the garage. So we're not going to paint anything unless we can drop curtains around it and get a little bit of an airflow to the outside. So one of the reasons why I can't move it today is it's still Canada and it's still the end of winter. So we're kind of dealing with this today, and it's not impossible to move it, but just not ideal. So we're going to move on to something else. One thing I wanted to work on, I'm kind of hoping to get it done, is that on the back of the Roadster and any of these 32s with a deck lid or a rumble lid, is that the rain gutters here, they funnel water down here, which they're supposed to, but then they would go into the trunk. I'm not sure if Ford actually had a little piece of sheet metal with a drain onto it or not. I've seen stuff online. I think that Brookville makes them for like 200 and some bucks, and I'm seeing stuff on the Ham. What we're going to try to do today is make up our own little sheet metal square collector with a tube on the bottom of it to suit the 32 Roadster. We'll make up a set for ourselves, more than for Brenda's Roadster for ourselves, and more than likely I think I'll make up a set for the International Roadster too. So gonna brainstorm on that, come up with a little design, and then I'll show you making it. So I'm hoping that you can see from the time-lapse video that was me making up one of the little drain pockets. They're going to go underneath the drip edge in the trunk or the boot or the deck lid or whatever you want to call it of a 32 Ford there. This is kind of like the first step. So it comprises of basically two pieces. This one side piece that's got a little bead rolled edge that clears a flange up underneath, and I'll show you in a few. I'll try and show you in a few minutes where it goes. Then the second piece, which basically is just bent and made into a box, and then I just welded the two together and ground them. Now the next step we have to do is drill a hole right here, and I'm going to put a piece of 3/8, probably solder a piece of 3/8 tubing there, so that then we can take the tube and put it out into the corner of the end of the Roadster. Now, one thing you'll notice on a lot of Roadsters and coupes or whatever, there's a lot of times there's repairs done to these bottom corners, and that's because of water building up into them. So if we put these drains at the bottom, well, these are cut out on this one, but essentially these drip edges or rain gutters or whatever, they funnel the water down to here, and then there's really no way to divert the water out of the car. So what these little pieces are going to do is they're going to collect the water up, and we're going to use a tube to funnel the water away. So I'll show you in a couple seconds where it fits on the Roadster. Then I'm going to come back and we're going to solder in a tube here. So here's the back of Brenda's Roadster. I'm going to try and position my camera down here. So right there is where this little funnel, or whatever you want to call it, is going to position itself to pick up all of the water. We're going to put the tube at the bottom, put the tube at the bottom of here, and we'll have a tube going either through the floor there or around the corner over here, whichever the case is. But essentially, water, trying to get my fingers out of the way, I'm really sorry. The water would go down this rain gutter here, down into, I'm trying to position it, if you can see it or not, down into the little funnel. Now what we'll have to do is put a little bit of silicone on, sorry, the light is bad in here. We'll put a little silicone on it where it touches up against the rain gutter support, and then there'll be two screws that'll hold it in place here. And of course, we're going to put a coat of paint on these before we're finished. But anyways, we're making progress on it. I had the idea of making these up, and already I've got 3 other people who wanted me to make them. So I'm going to make up a few sets of these. I know you can buy them. It's the same thing. You can buy them from Brookville. They make really nice stainless steel ones. I think they're $225 US. But by the time I get them here, I am the better part of $400 or $450 Canadian. So that's a whole heck of a lot of labor. For me, it makes more sense to make these up and put them in, and for less than half the cost. That isn't the case for everybody else. So, I mean, do what you need to do, but it's a good idea to put one of these drains in. So there's the drip edge drains. Soldered those little 3/8 tube in there. My soldering skills are not what they used to, but I think by the time I've done a few sets of these, I'll be back up to snuff. Thinking about maybe welding them in, but I think soldering is the best because the solder will actually wick around all the joint, less likely to leak or whatever. So I think I'm gonna try sticking with soldering the tube on. But there is the second side right there, it's in place. I just have them in place with vice grips right now because I'm going to take them back out and clean them and then put a coat of black paint onto them before we put the tubes on down through the floor. But again, it's basically there just to collect up the water from the drains around the boot edge, the trunk edge, deck lid, or whatever you want to call it, and then bring the water away and out the back of the car. So there's the two trunk drains. I think I called them a number of different things throughout the video, but we've made two up for Brenda's Roadster. Right now I've got the pieces all laid out here. I'm going to make a few more sets up. I need one for ourselves, for the Camera Ladies Roadster, for the International Roadster, and then Brian's coupe, which is now Ellie's coupe. We're going to make up a set for that, and I'm just going to make an extra 2 sets and stick them up on the shelf up there with all the extra 32 parts. At some point I'll use them. In conclusion, I can't remember all the things we did this week. Had a little bit of a cold this week, so I'm a little fuzzy right now, so I apologize for that. We did work on 32 stuff. The oil pan for the Camera Ladies engine, I did get that welded up. Anyways, watch the video. Well, this is the end of the video, so hopefully you watched all the video. But that's it for this week. Please like, share, tag, and subscribe. Come on back next week, and we're going to be working here in the shop again. Everybody take care.